So as we approach the NFL season opener against the Kansas City Chiefs in only 17 days, it just keeps getting better for our Baltimore Ravens. After Nate Wiggins dodged a major injury, he's already back in practice and had himself an interception today. Rashad Bateman returned and had 2 touchdowns from Lamar Jackson today. We got updates on the offensive line battle, injury updates, and much more. So welcome in to another episode of Ravens Reports. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock, as always, bringing y'all our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Ravens today. Go ahead and do me a favor. If you've been enjoying these Ravens Reports episodes and getting any value, go ahead and leave the video a like. It really helps with the channel. Let's dive into the content. At number 1, let's talk about Rashad Bateman connecting for 2 touchdowns today with Lamar Jackson. 1 on a 15-yard crosser and red zone drills. Reminder that Lamar Jackson was out of the first little bit of training camp with an illness, and then whenever Lamar came back, Rashad missed a little bit of time after he made a spectacular grab in the end zone, landed on the football and had a midsection injury, but he's back now. Lamar and him are building some chemistry. One of his touchdowns today came on a 15-yard crosser and red zone drills, and Lamar Jackson hit him in stride, and the other touchdown came on a 65-yard bomb. And that's one thing that specifically was mentioned by Todd Monken, is that not just only does he want to get Rashad Bateman more involved, but wants to get him involved down the field in the downfield passing attack. Rashad Bateman, his route running ability to separate down there and combined with his 4.4 speed, Todd Monken recognizes that he wants to get him the ball downfield. During the 11-on-11 work, Jackson heaved a perfectly placed deep pass to Rashad Bateman down the right sideline and caught it in stride behind cornerback Kadar Holman for what would have been about a 65-yard touchdown. If Bateman emerges as a consistent threat with chemistry, making plays on a consistent basis, opposite of Zay Flowers and then Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry, it's just going to take the offense to new heights, and it's going to be really hard to defend with playmakers at every single part of the field that threaten every single blade of grass. I'm just picturing a 12 personnel package with Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Bateman, Flowers, and Derrick Henry, and just all the problems that that package could present, especially whenever you line them up all in different places. These guys are going to make a lot of plays for Lamar Jackson. If Bateman's a part of that, look out for this offense, man. At number 2, Lamar Jackson addressed the media today and spoke on several topics. A few caught my eye here, specifically the offensive line and having more energy and stamina after losing about 15 to 20 pounds in the offseason. Here's what Lamar Jackson had to say on having more energy to rip off runs and then come back to the line of scrimmage for the next play.
More energy. I'm not fatigued as much. If I'm running like 30 yards down the field, I can come back and just be like me, like a robot, even though I'm not a robot. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I just feel better, a lot better.
So I don't expect Lamar Jackson to necessarily run more this season than he did last year with Todd Monken, but I expect some of those rushes to be a little bit more explosive, maybe a couple more long runs, those back-breaking 30-yard scrambles, or, one where he takes a 40-yard run to the house. And I think that with having Derrick Henry in the backfield, there's going to be some really key opportune times for Lamar Jackson in the designed run game where he can break a defense's back, especially later in games, big-time moments where Derrick Henry's been beating you up all game long, and then Lamar Jackson takes a keeper around the edge and burns you for a long gain. And here's what Lamar Jackson had to say on the offensive line.
How your offensive line is shaping up?
My guys are coming along very well. Young guys, very young group. I think this is probably the youngest group I've been a part of since I've been in the league. And guys are coming along well. We got Ronnie at tackle, we got Tyler. Those guys are the leaders of the line right now. And we're just going to keep stacking and keep getting better.
And with 3 out of the 5 starters from last year not returning, 3 new starters, 60% of the offensive line being replaced this year. It's been one of the main subjects of talk among the media, the coaching staff, Ravens fans. We'll talk more about the offensive line here in a minute. But at number 3, let's talk about a dominant day for Adewale Ojomo, who had 3 sacks. Now, Chuck Smith recently talked to the media and was very adamant that Adewale Ojomo is going to be a double-digit sack producer this year in the National Football League. Not only am I excited about Adewale Ojomo, and do I think this is going to be his best and most productive year where he's flirting with double-digit sacks, but I'm also excited about his counterpart that's probably going to be getting a lot of playing time in David Ojomo, who really flashed in preseason as well. Adewale Ojomo and David Ojomo have the opportunity in front of them and the talent and the coaching with outside linebacker coach Chuck Smith to be a really dangerous duo coming off the edge. I was a little bit more concerned about the edge room, about the outside linebacker room before this last preseason game where I saw Ojomo healthy out there, wrecking shop, spin move, the outside speed, the burst, the explosion that I saw him, coming after the quarterback with. It gave me a lot of ease about that room, especially because we still have a guy like Kyle Van Noy for, a solid starter and that can get after the quarterback in big-time moments, who can drop into coverage and do different things, and just some nice depth there with Tavius Robinson. And then Adisa Isaac, the third-round rookie, showed some good things as well. So after seeing Ojomo and Adisa Isaac specifically perform well in this last game, I feel a lot better about the Ravens outside linebacker room. Let me know in the comments section below if you feel the same way or if you're still a little bit concerned about that room. At number 4, one of those sacks that Adewale Ojomo had today, he had 3. One of those came against the rookie right tackle Roger Rosengarten. It's always funny whenever you hear reports in training camp because there's you're only going against your guys. So if a guy makes a play, it's always at the expense of another. So if you're like fired up for Ojomo, you're like, oh, who did he beat? And you're like, oh, I find out he beats, right tackle, the rookie Roger Rosengarten, who's going to be protecting Lamar Jackson, right? So you're hyped up for Ojomo, but then you're a little bit concerned for Roger Rosengarten. However, I'm not concerned about Roger Rosengarten for the simple fact that whenever I saw his film, from this last game against the Falcons, he showed some really good stuff, especially in pass pro. Now, he may not be the most, big, explosive guy off the ball as a run blocker right now. He's definitely got some work to do in that department, but specifically for his pass protection ability to help keep Lamar Jackson clean and not have him, have a strip sack late in a playoff game. I like what I see out of the rookie right now, specifically in pass protection, and I think he'll be the starting right tackle in week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs in 17 days. And speaking of this offensive line, John Harbaugh said today they're a little bit closer to knowing the offensive line, who the starters are. He says he feels good about where they're at. They're really close. I think he probably knows but doesn't want to announce anything. But also they got some really good work upcoming against the Green Bay Packers in some joint practices and a final preseason game to kind of put the icing on the cake and really kind of go from there when it comes to the starting offensive line. I think Andrew Voorhees locked in at left guard. Of course, Stanley at left tackle. Linderbaum at center. Right guard and right tackle, probably the biggest question marks. I think right tackle is going to be Roger Rosengarten, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens go off what they know and they trust. And Patrick McCarry, as Rosengarten, continues to get better and improve in practice and, maybe take over later. But right guard right now, I don't know if that's going to be Daniel Falele or Ben Cleveland. Really eager to see who wins that spot. At number 5, let's talk about some other practice highlights today. Marcus Williams, this is a sleeper. There's so many other guys we've been talking about on the team, but Marcus Williams is a guy that maybe got a little bit lost in the shuffle about guys we've been talking about because he's been quietly having a really strong training camp. He's healthy. And one of the things I've always loved about him is his range and ball hawking ability to get his hands on footballs for interceptions and pass breakups. Today, he showed off that range and going a long way to break up a pass intended for Zay Flowers during 7-on-7s. Marcus Williams continues to stack, and him next to Kyle Hamilton is the best safety duo in the National Football League, and it's not even close. Kyle Hamilton's an all-pro, and Marcus Williams is a top 10 safety. It's simple. I personally think that Kyle Hamilton's the best safety in the NFL. In some other notes, the Ravens' ground game got cranked up today, with Derrick Henry having one of his best practices of training camp. Several long games with fullback Patrick Ricard paving some lanes. Man, like Henry, I'm so excited to see what he does against the Chiefs, and it's just the full impact that he's going to have on the team this year. I think he's going to be a big difference maker, and because we've yet to really see him in full preseason action, or it's just training camp, so you don't always get like a full dose of the run game against your own guys. And I think Henry, I'm fired up to watch him play football, man. Also, cornerback Nate Wiggins, first-round rookie, shows no signs of his injury today. flying around, continuing to make plays, getting hands on footballs. Had a interception today. He stepped in front of a Devin Leary pass and got another interception. He continues to be a really exciting young prospect for the Ravens. I think he'll be a starter. I think that Nate Wiggins, Brandon Stephens, and Marlon Humphrey are going to be on the field together a lot, with one of those guys playing on the inside. Probably Marlon Humphrey more often than not, but also Brandon Stephens can play the nickel. But I do think Nate Wiggins will primarily be on the outside. An update on center Tyler Linderbaum. John Harbaugh says that he is on schedule. He will not be cleared for full contact for the preseason for the joint practices against the Packers, but that he is on schedule. He's been doing walkthroughs, and he should be good to go for week 1. Same thing with Mark Andrews. He's yet to practice after that car accident he had last week. But John Harbaugh says that he's fine and he's not going to get into it, but that he'll be fine. And he will be traveling with the team for these joint practices before the final preseason game against the Packers. The only good thing I can say that's been coming out of this Mark Andrews injury is that Isaiah Likely and Lamar continue to build chemistry, and it's showing Todd Monken with all these plays that he's made. He made another fantastic 2 catches today and continuing to be one of Lamar's favorite targets. It's showing Todd Monken, hey, even when Mark Andrews is back, the All-Pro, who deserves to be on the field all the time, you still got to get Likely involved and have him on the field as well and make these 2 tight ends like the feature of the offense. And then I say that, and I'm like, well, no, like, shouldn't Derrick Henry or Zay Flowers be the feature? Like, and it's a good problem to have because there's so many guys that you want to have featured in the offense. It's just going to keep, all these guys free from having too much attention and double teams and things like that. It's going to present a lot of problems for defenses. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave the video a like. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.
Ray, when he wasn't looking, he ran me over.